You must be visiting from Liyue to participate in the Irodori Festival. We'll be your guides, and we'll take you onto the island. Huh? Is it Paimon, or have we met somewhere before?
Yes, in fact we have. I'm Shu from Feiyun Commerce Guild. The inventor of Theater Mechanicus previously came to the Feiyun Commerce Guild seeking investment. We heard that they'd be demonstrating the game and letting people try Theater Mechanicus at the Irodori Festival.
Oh! Speaking of which...
Master, he's,
Whoa! Xingqiu's just sitting there. Sound asleep.
What? Oh. It's the Traveler and Paimon. I presume you are guests in Inazuma as well? It seems fate has destined our paths to cross once again.
Oh, we aren't actually guests. We're actually guides for the Irodori Festival.
Please, no need to worry. I was a little too caught up in a novel on the voyage here. Yes, now that we've arrived, the Kanjo Commission will likely wish to inspect our invitation letter. Huh? That's odd. There was a piece of paper underneath my bag. Strange.
Ooh, let Paimon have a look! There's no doubt about it. It's
the story you found?
Oh, yeah! In the warehouse down by the poem hunt competition! Yeah, that's it! A friend of ours is on Rito to paint portraits of the 5 Kasen. You know, as part of the Irodori Festival. If you can find one of the stories and give it to this friend of ours, then there's a chance you'll become the model for the next portrait!
Wait a moment. So you mean that...
Hey! It's hard coming up with stuff on the spot like that!
There's a chance of meeting Calx in person?
Huh? Oh, yeah! You could say that.
Really? That's wonderful! I knew that Calx would attend the Irodori Festival, but convincing my father to let me come to Inazuma was proving to be quite the high hurdle. Just a few days later, word then came that it is a most rare opportunity for both Calx and I to be in Inazuma together, but it seemed he would be too busy with the portraits to meet with me.
Don't worry, Xingqiu. Even though Calx has work to do, he still has time to see friends. Also, we heard that Calx did illustrations for your A Legend of Sword novel.
So you've already heard. To be honest, my works have drawn little interest in Liyue. However, the novels are selling quite well in Inazuma with the help of Calx's beautiful illustrations. Calx is not only a skilled artist, but he also carries out his craft with great alacrity. But when I looked at the art, the brushwork did not even look the slightest bit rushed. Oh my, I was beginning to get carried away there. Let us depart, quickly now.
Luckily, the idea of meeting Albedo managed to draw Xingqiu's attention and keep the situation under wraps.
Traveler, Paimon.
You must be Calx. It's a great pleasure to finally meet you. Forgive me. It's rude of me to introduce myself by my pen name when meeting in person. Please, call me Xingqiu.
And you may call me Albedo, then.
No. That would be most improper.
Why not? Seeing as we're both friends of the Traveler, it'd be more convenient for us to use our real names. Besides, we've already corresponded with each other many times before. In fact, I feel a bit self-conscious seeing you act so politely.
It's not just you, Albedo. We haven't seen Xingqiu act this awkward before either.
You guys, it's certainly not good taste for you two to be teasing me like that. Oh, by the way, we happened to find a story from the poem hunt competition at the docks.
Poem hunt?
You know, that thing where we have to find pieces of paper with stories of the 5 Kasen. Venti found one, and then he was allowed to be a model for one of your portraits.
Huh? Oh, yes, that's right. Oh, I understand the story now.
Splendid. Though, I'm still piecing together the story myself.
If all of you are free, why don't we discuss this over a meal?
Well, about that.
Do you have other plans, Xingqiu?
No, not at all. Speaking of dining, Shimura's unagi chasuke is quite delicious.
Shimura's? Unfortunately, today...
That's perfectly fine with me. But I must first unpack my luggage.
Something didn't quite add up just now.
Huh? No way!
No, Paimon, I'm not referring to us.
Huh? Xingqiu's suspicious.
Paimon, you read the poem, right? Although it may seem confusing to Xingqiu on its own...
Read them together? Suiko lost Aoi no Okina's poem in a drunken stupor. So, Aoi no Okina recovered the poem and gave it to some mysterious person. Huh? Wait a minute. Could today's story be hinting that the one who stole the latest copies of A Legend of Sword? No way! That can't be right!
And that is precisely the point of suspicion. If Xingqiu had only just arrived in Inazuma, how could he recommend Shimura's chasuke? Moreover, he didn't raise any questions when I suggested another place because of the windy weather. This means he knows that Shimura's is an open-air restaurant.
Are you saying that Xingqiu has already been in Inazuma for some...
Yes, that is indeed my conclusion.
But how could Xingqiu be the book thief? His mission is to find...
Calm down, Paimon. Even though this is the first time I've met Xingqiu in person, we've communicated via letters for some time now. I think there must be some deeper motive at play here. The story also tells us that Aoi no Okina flees with a poem because of a threat.
Oh?
It's difficult to say at this point. But given that Uyu Restaurant is indoors, it'll be easy for us to detect anyone following or eavesdropping on us. I'll be relying on your assistance to get to the bottom of this matter. Good. Then let's head to Uyu Restaurant.
I just absolutely love this fan novel.
I don't see anyone suspicious around. It seems clear for the moment.
Oh, let's
First, we must ascertain whether Xingqiu was already in Inazuma or not. If we can find evidence of him deceiving us, since we're still waiting for him, why don't you go and chat with other guests in the restaurant and see if you can learn anything useful?
The last phase of the Irodori Festival is when they release the all-new publications.
That's right. A signed first edition is going to become quite the collectible.
I've seen Genyu's signature before. His handwriting is super neat.
He'll be there in person on the day of the release, so we'll get a good look at him then. I hear that he's actually pretty young.
Wait a minute. Did you just hear that? Not only will Xingqiu be signing novels at the release, but his...
Welcome to Uyu Restaurant. Please talk to me if you want to order.
Albedo, what should we talk about when Xingqiu gets here?
I will If he really is hiding something, then he might feel even more nervous than we...
Oh, come to think of it, Xingqiu mentioned that he'd like to thank you.
Is that so?
To Uyu Restaurant. Please talk to me if you want to order.
Hello there, what can I...
Hi, do you have any special recommendations?
Why, of course. I'd personally recommend our freshly caught seafood. It's been pouring these past...
So the weather at sea had...
It sure has. A few guests from Liyue were just telling me that their boat was heaving and rolling.
Oh, this might...
If you want to order.
That was delicious. Inazuman cuisine largely consists of fresh seafood, which is certainly to my liking.
That's good. We were worried you might not have an appetite because you didn't sleep well. Now's our chance. Let's talk to Xingqiu and see if he says anything useful. Maybe we could start by asking him about the journey.
To be honest, there wasn't much to see. Just water all around, morning to night. The sheer monotony of the trip caused everyone to grow a little impatient. So, when the peak of Mount Yogo finally appeared in the distance as we approached the islands of Inazuma, everyone crowded the deck to have a look. However, the ship sailed along at a crawling pace. It took a whole day from the time we saw the mountain peak to the time we docked.
Paimon didn't catch anything suspicious so far. Oh, right! If it took an entire day to reach the dock.
We learned a couple of things from his account, but we still require more evidence. Let's discuss creating novels with Xingqiu.
Speaking of illustrations, Albedo, I've long wished to express my sincerest gratitude. My novel didn't sell well in Liyue, so I must admit that I had some reservations regarding its potential. Yet you've consistently managed to select the most important scene of the chapter for your illustrations. This made me feel as though what I was trying to express could be understood after all.
Thank you. However, I took some risks in the illustrations, so I'm feeling slightly uneasy myself. Light novel illustrations are typically centered around the characters.
Well, that scene was intended to depict the change in the world, so I thought it very fitting to draw only scenery.
Doesn't sound like it.
No, there was a crack in his alibi. My illustrations were sent for printing the moment they arrived in Inazuma. So, logically speaking, there's no way he could possibly know what the illustrations look like. Xingqiu, we have something very important to ask you now.
Oh? Why the solemn looks all of a sudden? Huh? I'm afraid I don't follow.
Mr. Okazaki told us earlier that actually the weather at sea was very bad these last few days.
On top of that, the latest installment of A Legend of Sword will only be revealed at the Irodori Festival. Even we, the creators, haven't received a sample copy.
Well...
The jig's up, Xingqiu. You were already in Inazuma before today, weren't you? Are you in some kind of danger but can't tell us the truth? Don't worry. The Traveler and Albedo are no pushovers. We can help you.
No, please. You misunderstand me. I suppose my lack of sleep is inevitably taking its toll on my mind. I didn't notice for a moment that you were testing me at all. I did in fact come to Inazuma early to handle some things. Let me consider how to explain this. Oh, this is most embarrassing.
Oh, well, if this isn't a coincidence, I didn't expect to see
Huh? Tone-deaf bard, what are you doing here?
I heard that the owner of this establishment has some fine-aged wines.
Paimon knew you couldn't possibly be up to anything good.
Says who? In fact, I come as the bearer of good tidings. I just bumped into Kujo Sara a moment ago. She said that the Tenryou Commission has apprehended the criminal.
Huh? The criminal who stole...
Did I say something I shouldn't have?
Oh no. The person they apprehended. Was it by chance an editor named Onodera?
Apologies, Kujo Sara didn't mention a name. But I saw her taking someone toward Hanamizaka.
Everyone, it's too late to explain. We must make haste and rescue Onodera.
Welcome to Uyu Restaurant.
Please, wait. Onodera is innocent.
Oh, so you must be the author of A Legend of Sword.
Anyway, you mustn't take him away. I can explain everything.
No need to worry, Zhenyu. I've just explained everything to Madame Kujo, and Kuroda has testified for me.
Yes. In fact, we were just getting ready to leave.
Oh, phew. What a relief. Wait a minute. Does everyone else here already know?
Well, to be precise, we had dispatched 2 additional squads here, in order to prevent the suspect from escaping.
Xingqiu looks pretty flustered. What exactly is going on here?
Though it's most embarrassing, it appears quite a few people are aware of the situation now. In the end, I'm the one responsible for this whole predicament.
No, Zhenyu. It's only appropriate that I take responsibility for this. Everyone, please let me explain. For the Irodori Festival, I recommended the idea of selling newly released novels signed by the authors. Not only was this the first major project I was in charge of since joining the Yae publishing house, however, I did not discuss our plans with the authors in advance.
Yes, to be frank, calligraphy is not my strong point, so signing events are really not my forte.
Even though such an event will be difficult for Zhenyu, after telling him how important the plans were to me,
He immediately boarded a ship to Inazuma to come up with a solution. So these past few days, Jinyu has been actively practicing his handwriting. However, it takes time to sign each book. And so I came up with the idea of moving the new books from the warehouse to my place. That way, Jinyu could use these few days to sign them all. I thought everything would work out without a hitch. I never expected that someone would immediately realize that the books were missing from the warehouse. To make things worse, I was on vacation and staying with Jinyu in my house these past few days. All of this happened because I wanted to prove myself through this event.
Onodera, I agreed to your proposal because I didn't want the readers to know of my unsightly handwriting. Also, I knew that Onodera had been misled by one of my prior signatures. At a previous event, the Yae Publishing House had requested autographs of authors so that they could be put on display. I practiced tirelessly for an entire day to finally deliver a stylish and elegant signature for the event. But looking back on it now, I had dug myself into a hole by delivering that nice signature for the sake of my pride.
Hey, come on, you two. Loosen up a little. The theft was nothing more than a simple misunderstanding.
Yeah, that's right. All that matters is that Shincho and his books are okay.
Onodera, I think you should explain the truth regarding the stolen books to the rest of the people on Rito.
Yes, I understand.
We should probably be heading back to Rito as well. Let's tag along.
Onodera, what are you doing here? Aren't you...
I'm very sorry for all the trouble that I've caused.
Yes, Onodera, but why didn't you tell everyone earlier? If you had told us, we could have thought of some ways to help you.
That's right. We're a team, and...
Let's leave the past behind us now. Our first priority is to help Jinyu with his signatures.
My progress is not what I had hoped for. Even after working through the night these past few days, I've only finished perhaps 1/10 of the signatures.
Oh, no wonder Shincho looked so sleepy today.
I understand. Murata, go back to Yae Publishing House and get Aratani to book a room on the second floor of the Uyu restaurant.
Yes, Mr. Hirayama. It just so happens that my brother is a calligrapher.
Yes, good idea. Ah, you've just reminded me. 2 calligraphers from...
It seems I'm really in for it now.
No need to worry, Jinyu. I'm sure you can do it. Didn't you finish the last chapter of your novel in just 1 week's time?
Yes, but writing
deal with this handwriting issue.
I always used to prefer working alone in my workshop.
We also owe a special ode of gratitude to the mysterious person who has been leaving important info for us along the way.
Huh? You mean whoever left behind those stories about the 5 Kasen?
Pardon me, but what are you talking about?
Oh, right.
I see. It appears that Onodera and I were spotted. Albedo, may I ask you one thing? Not only do I owe the successful resolution of today's incident to that story...
No problem. Considering the similarities between the portrait and the events that...
That figure was none other than Aoi no Okina himself. This turn of events had begun with an unnamed individual, under whose coercion, Aoi no Okina was forced to take drastic measures to retrieve a page of poetry. He knew nothing of this individual's true intentions. All he knew was that the poem had to do with an old acquaintance, Akahito.
Everything's in place and they've...
Albedo really is something. He finished the portrait of Aoi no Okina in no time at all. Wonder how Shincho's calligraphy training is going at Uyu Restaurant. Hey! Oh, hello? Mr. Storywriter? Are you here? Could you please help Shincho with something? He's a friend of ours, and the release of his new book is super important to him. Oh, what's that sound? It was just a cat. Looks like we can't make them reveal themselves that easily. It's getting late now. But let's go back and get some rest. We still have to go to the docks and wait for another ship tomorrow morning.
I'm sure I forgot something.
It's already time for us to be at the docks. Let's go! The arrival schedule says ship stopover, 1 person. Does that mean we're only welcoming 1 guest today?
Greetings, traveler in Paimon. I heard there would be guides for the Irodori festival, but I didn't...
We didn't expect to see you either!
I was a little surprised myself when I received the invitation. But after wandering the outside world for so long, it's good to have an opportunity to return to my homeland.
Kazuha, when we saw you in the distance just now, you seemed to be looking for something. What happened?
Ah, yes. You see, when I came off the boat with everyone just now, I suddenly heard light footsteps around me. I could tell they were not footsteps of a regular passenger. But by the time I turned around, the person had already disappeared. Even though I didn't manage to catch a glimpse of them, I found this strange piece of paper by my feet.
Oh, does the paper happen to have a poem written on it?
Huh. How did you know? Fascinating. It's almost hard to believe such things could happen. Sure, here it is. Please, have a look.
Last time, Aoi no Okina's poem ended with... The story this time basically says that Akihito got his name from his love of red seals. However, the shogun discovered that he had committed plagiarism, and he was soon exiled. Well, if Paimon were to rate today's story, it sounds pretty unfortunate.
I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with this story. I too was once wanted as a criminal by the shogunate.
But according to the story, Akihito was exiled by the shogun because of his wrongdoings. Huh? Traveler, what are you thinking about?
Ah, By the way, you mentioned that your friend has been struggling because he's unable to sign his name quickly, right? In Liyue and Inazuma, there is a saying, that which has been stamped has also been signed. While sailing at sea, I sometimes carve things to pass the time. If you wish to create a stamp for his seal, I might be able to help.
Wow, that's an idea!
Interesting. A story of the 5 Kasen appears again. A stamped seal, huh? Indeed, it is an efficient solution. If we use a stamp, then Xingqiu won't have to struggle with his handwriting anymore. Since Xingqiu's signature has been previously revealed to the readers, it would seem insincere if he only used the stamped seal for his new books. But I have another idea. Using a seal is a part of it, of course.
Yes, that's it, Zhenyu. Your writing has greatly improved today, which means...
My apologies, but I simply can't do it anymore. My hands are so sore that I can't even move them anymore. Oh, I should have known better than to read novels during calligraphy class.
You just had a 10-minute break.
When it comes to pushing a deadline, there's no one more brutal than Mr. Hirayama.
No wonder Lady Yai would always send the editorial director to handle troublesome authors.
Whoa, this is getting scary. It hasn't even been that long and Xingqiu's already zombified!
Mr. Hirayama, we found a solution that might just solve our dilemma. In both Liyue and Inazuma, seals are widely used as the equivalents of a signature. If we use a stamp to leave the author's seal on the books, then we could make the signature process a lot easier. Of course, a seal on its own is not enough. First, we'll use a personalized seal. We can simply carve one using Chenyu's signature as the design. In addition, I'll also design a simple but elegant pattern that's easy for Chenyu to write. That way, he will only need to draw a simple pattern on each book.
All right, I think that would work. Not only does it still involve the author's own handwriting, but the...
So, what you mean to say is, I've been saved from this predicament?
Mr. Hirayama, it suddenly occurred to me that the reason we gave up on live book signings previously was because it would... But if we adopted Calx's proposed method, we might have enough time to do signatures at the live event. And if all the authors signed their books in the same fashion, then Genyu's signature wouldn't look out of place.
If you think it's feasible, I would certainly be happy to design signatures for the other authors as well.
Yes, and you may leave carving the stamps to me.
In that case, I shall contact the other 2 authors participating in the new release event.
It is a great honor to use a signature designed by Calx.
My pen name is quite complicated and isn't suitable for signing events. However, if we implement this new format, then it'll be a dream come true for me as well.
Great! Looks like everyone's on board with the idea.
I'm sorry to have kept you busy for so long, Jinyu. Please, take the next few days to have a good rest. The books that Jinyu already signed can be used as special prizes in future events held by the I Publishing House.
We did it! The event is saved!
Thanks to everyone's efforts, Onodera and I are finally free of that mess.
That's right! You're finally free, Xingqiu!
Onodera, please inform Lady Ai of the changes in the... You're a quick thinker, Onodera. As long as you exercise a little prudence...
Got it!
I suppose this is all a blessing in disguise, isn't it?
We still have some time to burn. Where should we go next?
Traveler, there you are.
Oh, it's Ayaka! And Venti! That's an interesting combo.
I was just going to the festival venue to prepare the Ikebana lesson when I found a strange piece of paper on a flower stand. This bard just happened to be close by at the time. He informed me that you've also found similar papers recently. As such, we came together to find you two. But the paper she found isn't quite the same as the ones we found before. Here's the paper. Please have a look.
All the poems we found before were roughly the same length.
And even though there are only 2 short sentences, neither of them are next to the title or centered on the page. The position of the writing seems to indicate that there is other content written on this paper besides these 2 lines.
If we take the poem literally, it reads, "Dip this paper in water and see the truth naturally appear." Speaking of which, I have an ancient text at home, specializing in ancient and exotic stories. It mentions a...
So, shall we give it a whirl?
Wow, look! It's really working! More words have appeared on the paper! Let Paimon see what it says. Story says that after Sumizomi got the collection of poems from Akihito and put them into a stream of water, the plagiarized words in the poem became blurry.
You see, Paimon, in the past, when printing was not yet well developed, handwritten text could easily become smudged in books when exposed to moisture. To ensure the text lasted longer,
They'd either write using a special ink or coat the paper's surface with a waterproof coating once the writing was finished. Such special inks are time-consuming and laborious to produce, and the waterproof coating could also prove just as difficult. However, since Akihito's poetry collection was an important gift to be presented to the shogun, surely one of those two methods was used to protect it. But as for the plagiarized poems, not only would they lack Akihito's seal, but the words would also react differently when exposed to liquid.
Which means Akihito didn't plagiarize his work. He was set up!
Yes, it appears that this is the truth that Sumizome's story is trying to convey. Although the story is saddening, I've decided on the subjects to use for Akihito and Sumizome's portraits. Kazuha, Ayaka, would you be willing to be the models for my paintings?
I would be delighted.
Yes, as would I.
There you go. The next two portraits should be ready in no time.
Yes. And now that all 4 stories have all been collected, the story of the 5 Kasen is now fully completed.
Long ago, Inazuma had 5 legendary poets. People bestowed upon them the title of the 5 Kasen.
One year, the poet Suiko made his way to Tenshukaku and presented the Kasen's work for the shogun's perusal. But a page from the works of Aoi no Okina had been torn out, and Suiko was questioned regarding the matter. Suiko pleaded guilty. He admitted to drinking at the tavern the night before, and vaguely recalled a mysterious figure approaching while he was intoxicated.
That figure was none other than Aoi no Okina himself. This turn of events had begun with an unnamed individual, under whose coercion, Aoi no Okina was forced to take drastic measures to retrieve a page of poetry. He knew nothing of this individual's true intentions. All he knew was that the poem had to do with an old acquaintance, Akihito.
Akihito had once belonged to the 5 Kasen. Each poem he composed, he marked with a scarlet red seal, hence the Aka in his name. Such a distinguished writer was he, and yet one of the poems he had submitted the previous year was found to be plagiarized. Akihito was exiled for his crimes, and only 4 of the 5 Kasen remained.
Sumizome went over Akihito's poems and noticed that the plagiarized poem lacked his seal. She immersed his poetry in a stream nearby, and only on the plagiarized poem did the ink run. Aoi no Okina passed by and witnessed Sumizome's doing, which he then recorded in a poem. Thus transpired the events of Suiko's poetry submission, and this is where the story comes to an end.
Yeah. Ever since we completed the story of the 5 Kasen, one of the 5 Kasen is called Kuronushi, right? It's just that, how could the story of the 5 Kasen finish without him appearing at all?
Oh, have you really not noticed?
Huh? Not noticed what?
What he means is that the story of Kuronushi was already embedded within the 4 poems.
Huh?
That's right. The key lies in the poem that Aoi no Okina wrote after seeing Sumizome rinsing the poetry collection. An average person could never understand the scene of a young girl washing Akihito's poetry collection in a stream. Even Aoi no Okina couldn't figure out the meaning behind Sumizome's actions. He was simply reminiscing and thinking about his old acquaintances. However, For the perpetrator who framed Akihito, he was worried that if this poem was seen by the Shogun, then the Shogun could discover the truth behind the plagiarism incident. If so, in desperation, he threatened Aoi no Okina to make him tear out this poem.
Which means the one who threatened Aoi no Okina is the same person that framed Akihito. What? Kuranushi?
That's right. Though there are only 4 poems, they still managed to tell the complete story of all 5 kasen. Since the Shogun mentioned in the poems is certainly not the one of the 5 kasen, the only character left is the mysterious one with an unknown identity.
Oh, okay.
However, this also brings something else to mind. The story of the 5 kasen has more or less reflected everything that's been happening around us lately. Which begs the question, is there a Kuronushi in our world as well?
A Kuronushi? In our world?
Speaking of which, I wonder if our dear Kazuha has come up with anything.
Oh, right! Kazuha! He's been pretty quiet this whole time.
Welcome home, Almighty Shogun.
Make sure you get in line early to buy your special edition drinks. Hey, Kazuha, are you okay? You've been standing in front of this blank canvas for a while.
Apologies for making a wild assumption, but has the story of the 5 kasen reminded you of anything?
Yes. A few things did come to mind, actually. I don't mind sharing the stories, but I'd prefer not to bring you any more trouble.
Hey, we're all friends here, Kazuha.
Kaidehara, please forgive my assumption, but perhaps you were thinking of the Raiden Gokuden?
The Raiden Gokuden? What's that?
It appears that Miss Kamisato and I were thinking of the same thing. But it also has much to do with the Yashiro Commission. It would be improper to speak of it here without the consent of Miss Kamisato.
It's fine. Those of us here are all trustworthy, so there isn't any harm in it. However, this matter is somewhat complicated and may be difficult to explain. As you all know, the Yashiro Commission's primary purpose is managing ceremonial and cultural affairs. The Raiden Gokuden were once the top 5 schools of the forging art in Inazuma. Although these families were swordsmiths by craft, they also held many important positions in the Yashiro Commission. Unfortunately, of the 5, only the Aminoma art still maintains its artisan lineage. The descendants of the Ishin art are none other than the Kaidehara family.
Whoa! We knew Kazuha came from a noble family, but we had no idea about his connection to the Yashiro Commission and sword making.
Yes, but that's all part of the past now. The Ishin art was lost with my great-grandfather's generation. My grandfather was dissatisfied with my great-grandfather's lack of effort. When he was young, my grandfather traveled all over Tevat to find a way to revive the family business. But it was to no end. And in my generation, are
treated as nothing more than a conspiracy theory.
Indeed. I've also believed such ideas were just theories and rumors. However, I know that a major incident happened to my great-grandfather when he was young. Not only did it affect the Kaedehara clan, but it nearly jeopardized the Kamisato clan's position in the Yashiro Commission as well. After reading the story of the 5 kasen, I can't help but feel like it's pointing me toward the truth behind that incident.
What exactly happened to your great-grandfather, Kazuha?
I still can't say. I need to speak with someone to verify the details. I will tell you everything I know then.
Kazuha said he would wait for us at the 5 Kasen Plaza today. Let's go find him there.
Everyone keeps talking about.
Ah, you're here. It appears everyone has arrived. Last night, I visited a former servant who once worked for my family. In my great-grandfather's generation, the Ishin art was tasked with forging an important Goshinto according to an ancient forging diagram. Though all the craftsmen involved were very experienced, the process was still unsuccessful. When the deadline came, the blade still wasn't finished. The Kaidahara clan and Yashiro Commission then conducted an investigation. However, they met fierce resistance from the craftsmen, and in the end they were unable to prevent them from escaping by sea. The Kaidahara clan was severely punished for the swordsmiths that had escaped. Moreover, I heard that the head of the Kamisato clan was injured by the fleeing swordsmiths, which combined with his advanced age caused him to pass away shortly thereafter.
Yes. The sudden passing of the family head left the Kamisato clan leaderless. Treacherous people took advantage of the situation and put the family's status in the Yashiro Commission at jeopardy. This single incident had profound effects. Even after the position as head of the clan was passed to my father, the Kamisato clan still wasn't able to regain its prior reputation. But, thanks to my brother, everything is getting better now.
The failure to forge the blade was ultimately attributed to a lack of required skill and finesse. The Kaidahara clan and the Yashiro Commission always believed that was the case. However, the story of the 5 Kasen seems to imply that the failure didn't stem from a lack of skill, but rather, the diagram had been tampered with by someone. Miss Kamisato, I heard yesterday that the Yashiro Commission has still kept the diagram ever since the failed forging all those years ago. Might I ask you—
Yes, I understand. I will go back and search for the diagram. Please come meet me at the Kamisato estate later. everyone. I've managed to find the old diagram.
Though the diagram is well preserved, you can still tell that it's seen at least 3 or 4 centuries of history.
Whoa, that's pretty old. Is it still possible to find any evidence of tampering?
At this point, we can only try our luck and see how we fare.
Although the effect is not too obvious, you can still see that some words have now started to smudge. Kazuha, this is clear evidence that this chart was indeed tampered with. Someone framed the Kaedehara clan all those years ago.
I see. But I fear that I've discovered this secret too late. When my grandfather was young, he proposed reviving the Ishin art many times to my great-grandfather. But my grandfather was only scolded for being too foolhardy. Yesterday, the former family servant said that my great-grandfather even went to the Yashiro Commission to request that diagram from the head of the Kamisato clan. He then showed that diagram to my grandfather and asked him and his subordinates to try to forge the sword. Sure enough, my grandfather also failed. My great-grandfather then told him, "If you can't find the secret within, then the Ishin art deserves to fade from the world." My grandfather left Inazuma in a rage after hearing those words. He didn't ever see my great-grandfather again, even till the day of his passing. Looking back at it now, the argument between the two of them was simply meaningless.
Oh, Kazuha.
I heard that your great-grandfather was very industrious when he was young, but later in life, he no longer bothered with the forging arts. It appears that his failure took quite a toll on him.
Kazuha, did your great-grandfather really say, "If you can't find the secret within"? Did he use those exact words?
Yes. The servant said that he personally heard those words, and still remembers them very clearly. My grandfather was so angry at the time that he smashed my great-grandfather's cherished bonsai tree.
Yes, it appears that you understand my meaning. Kazuha, if your great-grandfather thought that the Ishin art lacked finesse, then after witnessing his son's failure, wouldn't he have said something more along the lines of, "Your skills aren't sufficient"? But instead he said, "If you can't find the secret within." Don't you find that a little strange?
Huh? Oh. So you're saying my great-grandfather may have very well known that the failure was due to someone's tampering?
Yes. The current evidence suggests that is highly likely.
I apologize, but would you all please accompany me to the Tenryou Commission? After I became a wanted criminal, the Tenryou Commission seized my family's last remaining estate, which contained all of my family's old belongings. I want to inquire about the whereabouts of those belongings. If I can find them, we might be able to get some clues.
All right, let's get moving.
Ah.
Glory to the Shogun. What are you all doing here? Did something happen on Rito?
Kujo Sara. Perhaps you still remember me.
Yes, I do. You're Kaedehara Kazuha, a wanted criminal during the Vision Hunt decree.
Sara, we'd like to ask about the Kaedehara clan's property that was seized by the Tenryou Commission.
Yes, the items seized at that time are currently...
No, I'm afraid you misunderstand. I'm not here to reclaim those belongings. I just want to investigate them for a personal matter.
I see. All right, I'll inform the police station.
Thank you, Sara!
Kaedehara, about the Vision Hunt decree.
That's all in the past now, Kujo Sara. There's no need to mention it again. I know you've also had your own convictions and struggles. However, may I ask something of you?
Yes? What is it?
Currently, I have no plans to stay in Inazuma. As a result, those items from my family's estate are of no use to me. Madam Kujo, I believe you are a person of integrity. After our investigation is over, I'd like to ask if you can handle those belongings for me. Please, sell them, and use the money to help the poor.
All right, I understand. I've already informed the police station. There'll be someone to take you into the warehouse. As for all the belongings left by the Kaedehara clan, I will deal with them promptly.
Ah, you must be here to investigate the Kaedehara clan's belongings. Well, Madame Kujo's already informed me of the situation. Please, come this way. The Kaedehara clan's belongings are stored in this warehouse. However, I have clearly marked the corresponding items, so they shouldn't be too difficult to find. I'll be waiting for you at the door. Please, come see me if you require any assistance.
Kazuha, since the items are scattered throughout the building, I propose we split up and look for clues.
Yes, sounds like a plan. I'll be checking around here. You and...
Oh, it's you.
Whoa, this folding screen looks pretty old, though.
Yes. Perhaps if it were better maintained, then it could fetch a decent price. I was taking a closer look just now, and the soil is deeply embedded into the cloth. That means a great deal of force was used when the dirt was lodged into the cloth. It's likely that this patch of dirt is from the very flower pot thrown by Kazuha's grandfather. Because this is not what we are looking for now. Let me think. If I wanted to leave a message behind, I would probably choose to leave it on something a little more special.
Albedo seems to be thinking pretty hard.
Oh, it's you.
Oh, since the Kaidahara clan was a family of renowned swordsmiths, then this blade should be super valuable, right? Maybe it's a treasure of the Ishin art!
I'm afraid not. Although the sword rack is made of fine wood, the swords placed here appear to be quite ordinary. The blade on the sword hasn't been sharpened, but there are many signs of use on the hilt. Perhaps Kaidehara used it for training as a child.
Let Paimon see! Oh, there seems to be a couple uneven characters etched into the scabbard. Kazuha. Wow, so it really was Kazuha's! Paimon can imagine what Kazuha was like as a kid.
I will continue investigating here and call you if I find anything interesting.
What did you find, Shinjo?
I found quite the pile of old books. These books here are all related to smelting steel, and these are about the process of forging blades.
The books about plants and flowers must have belonged to Kazuha's great-grandfather.
I skimmed through them just now, but I didn't find anything particularly worth noting.
There must be... Do you see all these pots here? Some of them are bound to have liquor inside, right?
Hey! Everyone else is trying hard to help, and you're over here looking for a drink?
I merely jest, of course.
Well, Paimon doesn't really get why Kazuha told Sarah to sell all these belongings. What if we don't end up finding anything today? Then wouldn't Kazuha lose the chance of finding out what really happened all those years ago?
I know you are worried about Kazuha, but if you ask me, he is stronger than you think. Since Kazuha made such a request to Sarah, that indicates he's already made his choice. Whether we find out the truth or not today, or whatever it turns out to be, he's ready to accept it. No, not intuition. Rather, I've lived for a long time now. Leave the things here to me. You two can look around elsewhere.
Everyone, I've found something that you should all have a look at.
Oh, seems Kazuha discovered something. Let's go see what he's got.
This flower pot was in my house for a long time. I heard that it was left behind by my great-grandfather.
Yeah, the plants seem to have been dead for a while now.
Well, after my great-grandfather stopped studying the forging arts, he picked up the hobby of keeping bonsai plants. Most of his prized plants were given to others once he became seriously ill. But he specifically left behind this dead plant at the time, and even instructed my grandfather not to throw it away in his will. My grandfather deeply regretted that he never managed to reconcile with my great-grandfather, so he left the plant exactly as it was. But now that I think about it, my great-grandfather could very well have left it behind for other reasons.
Now that you mention it, this flower pot is kinda suspicious.
Yes. Let's take a closer look, shall we?
We finally found something! Do you think someone already discovered the compartment and swapped the contents?
No, I do not think that is the case here. See the paper? It's quite yellowed, which means it's...
You mean to say that these sheets have been written with...
Yes, I agree with this hypothesis.
Okay, let's give it a dunk then!
There is a pond outside the police station.
Well, how'd it go? Those weren't just plain old sheets of paper, were they?
Just as everyone guessed, after I sprinkled some water onto the paper, writing did indeed begin to appear on it.
Oh? What does the letter say?
It is. I'll tell you what my great-grandfather knew at the time, but everyone, please follow me. Time to go. Time to go.
Kaedehara, why did you lead us to this beach?
It is. In fact, my great-grandfather and the head of the Kamisato clan tracked the fleeing swordsmiths to this very location. Our hypothesis was correct. My great-grandfather was well aware of the truth behind the defective blades. It reads, "To whoever reads this letter, I, Kaedehara Yoshinori, have been held to a certain secret throughout my entire life. I don't have much longer in this world, and after much consideration, I finally decided to disclose the matter. All those years ago, when I was pursuing the swordsmiths alongside Commissioner Kamisato of the Yashiro Commission, I was not injured by one of the fleeing smiths. Rather,
it was night, and after the clues led us down to shore, I waited for the culprits to show themselves. However, there were no swordsmiths in sight, only a single eccentric stranger. This stranger claimed to be the one behind the failed forgings and said that he had been patiently waiting for us. He then threatened to destroy the Raiden Gokaden. That person was of able body, and in a blink of an eye, myself and the accompanying samurai had been defeated. Commissioner Kamisato was severely wounded, and I barely escaped death myself. My hat had fortunately blunted a blow to my head. The unusual stranger could have easily claimed my life at that moment. But, after noticing my appearance, he stopped his attacks and sternly asked if I had any connection with the name Niwa. I answered that it was my father's surname, and after my father disappeared, I was adopted by the Kaedehara family. Upon hearing my answer, the stranger paused. After a long silence, he suddenly said, "Tell her this. My name is Kuni Kuzushi." He then turned and left.
Wow. So that's what really happened.
Yes. My great-grandfather and the head of the Kamisato clan escaped from death and learned that the forging diagram had been tampered with by Kunikuzushi. However, due to the encounter, the head of the Kamisato clan was worried that my great-grandfather would be falsely accused of being involved with the perpetrator. So even on his deathbed, the master of the Kamisato clan cautioned my great-grandfather to never speak of what happened. Because the perpetrator said he would destroy the Raiden Gokaden, my great-grandfather worried that the perpetrator would still return for vengeance. So, to protect his loved ones, he closed the family business. He said, "As the leader of the Kaedehara clan, I am deeply ashamed to witness the decline of the Ishin art. But as..." Yes, that's right. If my grandpa had somehow discovered the secret behind the tampered diagram all those years ago, unfortunately, he failed to catch any of the hints in my great-grandfather's words. Miss Kamisato, it appears you were unaware of the happenings that my great-grandfather described here.
I suppose the reason the head of the Kamisato house never spoke of this to the family was due to similar safety concerns. If the perpetrator was capable of tampering with even the Shogun's diagrams, and could single-handedly defeat many men, I will discuss this matter with Brother shortly, and investigate the identity behind the one called Kunikuzushi.
To be honest, as I read the letter, I felt much turbulence in my heart. But now I've managed to calm myself. My great-grandfather said in the letter that he did not wish his descendants to blindly seek revenge and be deceived by things of the past. Though he was in a tight situation when he wrote these words, I feel like they are still valid nonetheless. I think what's most important for each person is not the past, but the present. Even though we must carry the burdens from the past, there are also things we wish to strive for. Therefore, knowing the truth behind what happened is enough for me. I will live on just as my great-grandfather had hoped. That being said, if the enemy from all those years ago is still lurking and plotting to stir up more trouble, then I definitely won't turn a blind eye. These are simply insights I've gathered from all that I've experienced. Thank you all for accompanying me in my search for the truth behind that incident.
Great! Now that we're done here, let's head back to Rito.
Another
Into
test
the wind.
subject. Picked the wrong test subject.
One with nature. Time to go. The wind knows me. Clouds high, the birds call into the wind.
Ain't having your drink, huh?
Time to go. Cheer!
I'm here.
Please, get in line over here.
Invite Miss Ryoko to the festival.
Today is the final stage of the Irodori Festival. Not only will there be Shincho's signing event, but Albedo's painting of Kuranushi will also be unveiled. Let's take a stroll through the festival venue. Maybe we'll find everyone there. Make sure you get in line early to buy your special drinks.
Hello, traveler.
Albedo, why is the portrait of Kuranushi all covered up? Jaime wants to see what your Kuranushi portrait looks like.
Don't worry. The unveiling ceremony will be starting shortly. I will say that I'm most satisfied with this particular work. I even made a special trip to see someone in order to complete it. Is that so?
If you're tired from walking all around the festival, how about you sit right here and try my
Well,
Inazuman.
hello,
Hey! What are you two doing together?
Is that so? I'm afraid you're just overthinking things.
We were merely discussing wine and food.
Speaking of good sides with sake, I personally prefer fried tofu.
Forget it. Even if those two are plotting something, they'd still never let us know.
Traveler, Paimon, it's a pleasure to see you. Indeed it did. Thanks to you, the signing event went off without a hitch.
Shincho, is it just Paimon, or are you on the lookout for something?
You aren't mistaken, though I'm ashamed to admit it. But in fact, I have been on the watch for tourists from Liyue. After all, I came to Inazuma under the pretext of evaluating a potential investment. Fortunately, the crowds of readers that came flocking over have kept the usual tourists at bay. Oh, I should mention, Shu is also unaware of the real purpose of my trip. If you have, then please accept my thanks in advance. I'll see you later at the unveiling ceremony for Kuronushi's portrait.
Love this fan novel.
Kazuha, what are you doing here?
I came here to take in the sea breeze. Such a bustling atmosphere is never really to my liking. I knew you were still worried about me. Thank you. But please, don't worry. Look. See this familiar harbor in front of us? Before, you could sit here all day without seeing a single ship pass through. But now, it's become a bustling place. Not only are foreigners coming to Inazuma again, but traffic between here and Watatsumi Island has also been picking up.
Yeah, Inazuma's already started to change, huh?
I was thinking, in some ways, each and every one of us are similar to this country. It might take a different amount of time for different people, but there will inevitably come a day when each person can let go of their burdens, and when they finally let go. Don't worry about me. You should go enjoy the festival.
Ah, greetings, traveler. Paimon.
Oh, Ayato! We finally get to see the busiest person of all.
Yes, there were many things which required my attention these past few days. Fortunately, the Irodori festival is proceeding smoothly. The Tri-Commission cooperated closely to prepare this festival, so at long last, I can take a break today.
Brother and I are very grateful for your help.
Toma sure is taking his sweet time.
Yes. Today is one of the rare occasions when Brother isn't busy. I was going to buy some books, but he said he wanted to come along. His treat. However, he forgot his wallet at home, so he asked Toma to go back and fetch it for him.
Paimon didn't think Ayato could ever be forgetful like that.
Brother always works diligently, and it's rare for him to ever put his duties to the side and relax. So, Toma and I really cherish such moments when he's forgetful.
It's time for the portraits unveiling ceremony. Let's head over to the Five Kasen Plaza.
Maybe I could just turn my diary.
Everyone, welcome to the magnificent Irodori Festival. Today, we have ushered in the final stage of our festival. And now we will reveal the final portrait of the Five Kasen, Kuronushi, which was done by none other than our guest artist from Mondstadt, Calx.
Paimon has no idea what Albedo's portrait looks like. Oh, this is so nerve-wracking.
Let's all count down together. 3, 2, 1. Huh? What's this? This piece depicts nothing but a background. I suppose Calx must have forgotten to include the character. Let's hear some words from Calx himself regarding the creative process behind this piece.
Hello, everyone. First, I would like to say that it was an honor to be invited to create the portraits of the Five Kasen. The Five Kasen are legendary figures from ancient Inazuma, famous for their works of poetry. As time passed, poems were composed about them, and they became the subjects of many stories. I learned from existing sources about those stories that the character of Kuronushi is the deepest and most differing of the Five Kasen. Moreover, Kuronushi lacks a dedicated chapter among the stories. It's as if he is a behind-the-scenes role of the Five Kasen. Perhaps we can assume that every creator had a different understanding of Kuronushi. So, in the same way, I also wanted to leave this character to everyone's own imagination. After all, the Irodori Festival is a place for everyone to express their minds through creative works.
Yep, that's Albedo for ya. His super logical explanation is sure to win everyone's approval. Well, it seems that our adventures at the Irodori Festival have come to a close. Huh? What are you talking about? Oh, right! We still haven't figured out who left those stories of the Five Kasen for us to find. Really? Come on then, who is it? Tell Paimon! Well, that makes sense. Otherwise, there'd be no way to give the right paper to the right person every time. Right. Even though they were using stories to hint us toward Shincho's troubles, the real goal was to lead us to solve the secrets of the Kaidahara clan. Oh, Paimon gets it now. Well, let's go. We'll get to the bottom of this.
Enjoy the blessing of Lesser Lord Kusanali. An Aishan blessing now 10% off. Crowdsourcing competition is now underway.
Ayato! You're the one behind the stories of the five Kasen! But don't you think you overdid it a little?
As it just so happens, one of the reasons I'm here today is to explain the details behind this wild hunt.
Huh. Paimon wants to see how...
First of all, the start of this whole incident was due to mere happenstance. You see, Lady Yai happened to catch sight of Shincho and the editor carrying the books away one night. She thought it was interesting, so she asked me to tease them a bit.
Huh? So it was Miko after all! Paimon knew it! This thing had Miko written all over it!
That's right. But using the story of the five Kasen to guide you to the Kaidahara family's secrets was my personal touch. As for my roundabout approach, well, that was something which I had no choice but to do. Yes. Due to a certain incident that occurred earlier, I happened to notice the bonsai plants left behind by Kaedehara Yoshinori. I knew there was more than meets the eye regarding those papers, but it took me some time to figure out the secret behind the ink. What Kaedehara Yoshinori said in the letter is very important for both the Kamisato clan and the descendants of the Kaedehara clan, especially Kazuha. The Kaedehara clan used to be subordinates of the Kamisato clan. It was my ancestors who were unable to protect them all those years ago. Although he has the right to know the truth, the closer he draws to things hidden out of sight, the closer he also draws to danger. I had to confirm whether Kazuha has both the will and ability to be privy to the truth. Of course, I could outright tell him the truth that I had discovered, but maybe he doesn't have the will that's required. In that case, the truth would only become a burden to him. If he lacks the ability, then he wouldn't be able to find the truth in the first place. Kaedehara Yoshinori left his message in a roundabout way precisely for this reason. For a long time, I yearned for a suitable opportunity to convey this matter.
Oh, Paimon gets it now. Yeah, it wasn't only Kazuha.
I figured you would ask this question eventually. I merely saw that this matter would be of value to you. And more importantly, I hoped that while Kazuha and Ayaka were looking for the answers together, reliable friends who would be willing to protect them and make measured decisions. Because it is also very likely that you will face the same enemy together in the future. You already know the answer deep down inside, don't you? The answer is actually hidden in the portrait of Kuronushi. When there is no one else near the portrait, you can confirm with your own eyes. As for the means of revealing that answer, well, you have used it many times before.
Pretty late, so nobody else is around now. So Ayato must have been telling us to splash water on the portrait, right? It's the Balladeer! So he was the one behind the trouble all those years ago!
When there is no one else near the portrait, you can confirm with your own eyes. As for the means of revealing that answer, also, there's one last thing that we must discuss. I mentioned earlier that the occurrence of a certain incident made me notice the bonsai plants. It was just after the Shogun announced the abolition of the Sakoku decree. They had discovered signs that someone had entered the warehouse storing the Commission's articles of evidence and confiscated items. I felt something unusual about that incident, so I told Kujo-Sara of the Tenryou Commission to treat it as if nothing happened. She was not to increase the guard or relocate the warehouse contents. In the meantime, I sent a member of the Shumatsuban to keep watch over the warehouse.
You mean, he was also looking for...
I let him search for a while, but in the end, he found nothing. Soon after, he had to leave Inazuma by boat.
Why didn't you send someone to catch him?
The best way to protect a secret is to treat it as if it doesn't exist, is it? After he left Inazuma, I carefully checked the Kaedahara clan's belongings one by one, and eventually discovered the papers in the hidden compartment of the flower pot. I am certain that the papers are the secret which the infiltrator sought to find, though he couldn't confirm whether this secret existed at all. So, now on to my final question. Which part of Kaedahara Yoshinori's experiences was the secret that needed to be protected? I don't... As for now, please, enjoy yourselves at the Irodori Festival.
Wherever in this world I roam, I carry memories of my home. This blade. It is the last link I have to the land of my birth.
What a coincidence. I was wondering where I might be able to find you, and here you are. Well, can't I come and see you when nothing is up? Alright, as much as I'd like to sit and chat with you, before bringing Klee here, I told her many stories about Inazuma. However, I've got other things to do in Inazuma this time, besides painting the portraits of the 5 Kasen. Inazuma is not like Mondstadt. I can't just let Klee wander off by herself when I'm busy with other things. She hasn't complained, but I can tell she's not enjoying being stuck there on her own. Fortunately, I now have you and Paimon. So,
Yay, Mr. Honorary Knight's here! What you talking about, Mr. Honorary Knight? Are we... Yeah! But Albedo is really busy. Aw, Klee, you're such a thoughtful kid. Paimon's very thoughtful, thank you very much. Paimon always thinks of you whenever she's eating a delicious slime. Anyway, it is pretty cruel not to let Klee go out when she was so excited to come here. Yep. Allow the almighty traveler and dependable Paimon to bring Klee on a tour of Inazuma.
Klee, do you want to go play with Mr. Honorary Knight? As you know, Klee is our Spark Knight. By which I mean, try to keep her out of trouble. For instance, if a mountain in Inazuma was to lose one of its peaks, or if there were an explosion somewhere in the city, glad to hear.
I promise I'll bring you back an awesome souvenir, Mr. Albedo.
Great. I look forward to it.
There are loads of cool things to do in Inazuma. Try the local cuisine, visit a shrine. What do you want to do, Klee? Cuisine? What's that? You know, food and drink. Paimon just meant we could take you to a local restaurant.
Crowdsourcing competition. Ancient Blessing, now 10% off.
Make sure you get in line early to buy your special edition drinks.
Our crowdsourcing competition is now underway. Take part and win prizes.
Almighty Shogun.
Enjoy the blessing of Lesser Lord.
This scenery is wonderful. Surely enough to convince anyone to become a wanderer.
Make sure you get in line early to buy your special edition drinks.
Thank you for taking care of Klee. I heard lighting fires is strictly prohibited in both Rito and Inazuma during the Irodori festival. Klee's already run off.
Come, try your hand at Theater Mechanicus. Make sure you get in line early to buy your special edition drinks.
Wow, something smells so good. Mr. Honorary Knight, look at this noodly soup.
It's not noodly soup. It's tonkotsu ramen, actually.
Oh, so, what are those
You're kidding, right?
And what about this little yellow cake?
That's an egg roll. They're amazing.
Wow, tonkotsu ramen.
They sure are. Guess you're not from around here if you haven't tried any of. Let me buy you an egg roll with my allowance.
Really? Also, that's your allowance, right? Taking another kid's allowance just seems kind of wrong.
Oh, I remember you. You're Yoimiya's friend.
Egg rolls are a piece of cake for this guy. Why don't you make some for Cleo? Really? All right, we'll be waiting on those egg rolls.
Special yakitori for sale. Come and try some. Special yakitori for sale. Come and try some. Special yakitori for sale. Come and try some.
There are leaves around, and I know just the tune to accompany them, if you wish to hear it.
Special yakitori for sale. Come and try some.